Hey, it's Stephen Rothberg. I am the co-host of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. Welcome to episode 72. I'm also the founder of College Recruiter job search site. We believe that every student and recent graduate deserves a great career. And I am joined today here by two awesome people. One is our guest, company that we do some business with. We'll get to that later. And the other one is my co-host, Jeanette Leeds. Jeanette, great to see you.
Great to see you guys too. Everyone, I'm Jeanette Leeds, and today on episode 72, we have Sam Byler, who's the CEO and co-founder of Boost Point. And our topic today, if you didn't see at the top, is we're talking about how to scale interactive recruiting marketing campaigns, social media, like all of that, of course, under the lens of high volume. Not just doing two, but doing it like at scale. So Sam, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, Jeanette. Stephen, good to see you.
Why don't we just kick it off for those who don't know about Boost Point and your background, just sort of like give us I was going to say 411.
Who the heck are you and what the heck do you do?
Who are you?
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and CEO of Boost Point. Our mission is to be the best in the world at targeted job ads on social media platforms for high volume. So specifically on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
I can see Jeanette and I know each other so well. I could just like see in her eyes. It's like, oh, I gotta ask you about this. So you go.
Okay, so let's just talk about Facebook first. All right, so granted, I feel like Facebook, a lot of people feel like, oh, it's just for, I don't know, I don't want to say people my age because I'm not my age, but like, how is that? I'm like, I'm really 24. Talk to us about like using Facebook and how you're finding that for, now granted, high volume roles can be a whole variety of ages, different backgrounds and whatnot, but like talk to me about Facebook. Cause like, I don't hear about Facebook that often for recruitment.
Yeah, I mean like Facebook definitely has like the brand persona of being like the social media platform for like the older generation. I mean, like, yes, that's true, but the reality is still over 80% of the North American population has an active Facebook account. So it still serves like the most broad audience when you look at like social media as a whole. And like, it's just certain demographics like leverage it differently. Like Marketplace is a huge place like for Gen Z and like millennials. It's just they interact with it a little bit differently. So it still spans a huge, audience when you look at age range, even though it kind of has that perception of like the old social media platform.
Thank you.
So Sam, I think you said that the three social media platforms that Boost Point partners with, works with, you take postings from employers, probably programmatic, RPOs, ad agencies, etc., and you push them or send them into Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think those were the three.
So our technology does scale.
Okay, cool. There's a fourth one there that has a blue logo, kind of a big L in the logo. And so I'm wondering, why not LinkedIn?
The reason we're not currently servicing the LinkedIn platform is because we're specifically focused on the high volume, like hourly hiring space. And that audience doesn't tend to spend much time on LinkedIn. That's where we find more of like the professional types of roles. Not saying that we'll never venture into that in the future, but right now we've specifically decided to focus on the high volume hiring space. And that's where you get the best return on your investment for advertising. We've done a lot of A/B tests on different platforms, and Facebook is where you see the highest like ROI on your ad dollar. And then TikTok and Instagram are in that mix as well.
Oh, I'm again asking about Facebook in the beginning and you're like, oh, the highest ROI. So like, are you finding, if we think about high volume, and obviously there's so many different types of categories within high volume, right? Like whether it's different roles, industries, is there one that you're finding is like much more popping on Facebook versus Insta or TikTok? Like maybe talk a little bit about that. Cause I would imagine if I'm the head of TA running in a high volume thing, like I want to know, I'm like, ooh, Sam, tell me, where should I be?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we see it's really industry agnostic right now, specifically, because we see
Huh.
like the audiences there. But I mean, healthcare, transportation, hospitality, like retail, all of those industry types are currently performing extremely well on these platforms. I think the reason behind that is because, like, well, that's where the audience is, and then it's just targeting the right audience on those platforms, and then you have success.
So with those three platforms that you're currently on, one thing that I can think of that they share in common is that candidates rarely have anything even remotely approaching a resume or a CV on any of those platforms. Where on LinkedIn, you can have a LinkedIn profile without really much resume or CV information, but that's the exception rather than the rule. If I'm an employer working with Boost Point and you essentially send my job ad to Instagram, does the candidate come to my ATS to apply where I can capture their resume? Are they applying on Instagram? Are they going to a Boost Point page? How does that work?
So this is a big part of our mission as far as streamlining the candidate experience, which is extremely important to do if you're going to be advertising on social media platforms. Because like you said, most times people scrolling through Facebook, they're not going to have their resume handy.
Yeah.
And we feel it's important to cater to that component of the candidate. And so how we cater to the candidate in that way is we create a quick apply like experience within the social media platform,
Hmm.
in like it's a form, embedded form within Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform. We're capturing that candidate data, and then we can integrate with the ATS of our customers to send that candidate data. So we're kind of rethinking like the way of like resumes and how to view that as an employer. It's nice if we can get a PDF of a resume, but like why do we need that? Because we find we can capture the same type of information through a quick apply like experience. It's just we need to ingest it into the TA workflow in a different way than maybe just capturing a resume.
So follow up. So are you saying that if I'm a candidate on Instagram and I run across, let's call it one of your ads, I don't have any resume information to speak of on Instagram. I click yes, I want to get more info. I go to a form that you guys create within the Instagram environment. So I feel like I'm still on Instagram and enter my name, email, location. Can there be a resume option? Like if an employer says like, we cannot have people apply without a resume. Is that something that you help with, or is it really only for roles like that don't require a resume?
So we can ask resume types of questions or questions that you would answer within a resume. So it's
Okay.
not going to be like a PDF of like an actual resume. You won't be able to capture that within the Facebook platform, like upload that, with your application. But we can still get very creative with, work history information, qualification information, and all the types of information you would want to see on a resume. You can still capture that within this quick apply experience and get a very detailed candidate profile. It's just not going to be in resume format, quote unquote. But you can get the same type of information.
Which I think makes sense. Like, because again, thinking high volume, so many of these roles, in my view, this is like Jeanette Leeds' point of view and lots of others. It's like the resume is dead. Like, you don't need a resume for a lot of these roles. Like, give the information. What information do you need to figure out, is this person qualified to get an interview? Like, that's it. Like, why are we asking all this stuff? Why are we? I think like, I bet you know what? Someone out there must have some stats like of this, and maybe you do, Sam, of like how many times when a resume is asked for, is that a barrier where people actually then don't apply? Like, what's the,
it's everything. So
right?
I don't have that number
See it, and
specific,
you're
but
like,
I have
I'm not
I have
applying.
numbers
I don't have
on Yeah, we've done a lot of A/B tests around this, and I'm really passionate about this particularly because
Ooh, let's
it is
hear
a
it.
huge barrier. Because okay, it's extremely easy to get clicks to your apply pages and like impressions on Facebook, and like at the end of the day, hey, look what we got. At the end of the day, what TA teams, recruiters really they need applicants, like warm candidates that are applying. If you want to be successful with that, on social media, you're going to have to think creatively around the candidate experience. Because I can think of one test we did specifically with a client. They were like, hey, they were willing to test this. They were like, we want to capture resume, or we'll capture the same types of information through like a quick apply like experience on Facebook. They saw 10 times the amount of results, and results was like hires, not even just
Ooh,
app applies,
Okay,
but like
that's a big
actually
deal.
hires
that's huge.
with
That's like end result.
with the same amount of ad spend. It was the exact same amount of ad spend, but when they actually looked at their cost per hire, it was 10 times higher when they were asking for a full resume. And it's just that, I mean, you
There
think
you go.
practically,
That's the stat.
I'm scrolling through Facebook, I'm applying for an RN position. I'm not going to have my resume right here, right there. So I'm going to click off and continue what I was doing, on Facebook. But hey, if I can enter some quick information, takes me 90 seconds, I'm willing to do that. But I'm not going to jump on my computer, grab my resume, and you've lost them at that point.
Cool. I love that, and especially in the high volume world, I really think that this world is going to be the first to move to that. We're only going to gather the very minimal information that we need for the first step, right? I need your social security number, but not until after I've hired you. I need your date of birth, but not until after I've hired you. So please don't ask me for that today. And same thing with a resume. If you're looking for a warehouse position or whatever, I don't need to know where you went to grade school. I really don't, ever, in fact. I think we have time for one more. Jeanette, if you're cool. Okay. So I would love to know, because I think the world of social, the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook is virtually everybody who listens to our show is using at least one of those platforms on a regular basis, but probably not so much for recruitment. Thinking back to clients' campaigns that you guys have helped with, without naming names, what's like a big mistake that you've heard? And also what's a big, wow, did that client ever like really knock us out with, like, we really learned something great from them?
I'll answer the first one very quickly, because we touched on it. Like the biggest mistake that I see is what we just covered, as far as asking for too much information right off the get-go. Because at the end of the day, success metrics, like what we really try to produce, is like quality applicants and hires. And you're not going to get that. You're going to get a ton of impressions, a ton of reach. It can affect your employer brand in a positive way. But that's the biggest mistake that I see. It's the quickest implementation, but it's like you're just not going to get the best results. And then to like people that are doing it really well, the type of content is huge. And customers that are knocking it out of the park are thinking about content creation in a really unique way, because that's another big difference as far as when you think of social. It's a very visual platform. It's not words on an Indeed ad. You're working with photos and videos, and the type of content that we're seeing perform best is very interactive video. The term in marketing is UGC style, would be one term, like user generated content, where it's like real people, like not just pitching the company, but it's like inviting people to apply, highlighting the position, and getting the TA team involved, employees involved, into sometimes even generating that content that they can highlight in their ads. You see a huge increase in performance just around the type of content that you're using on the ads as well.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Jeanette, any closing thoughts?
I love that. I mean, to me, that makes total sense, because it's being authentic, right? And like, people are attracted to authenticity, in my view, right? That's like, okay, this
100%.
is real. This is what it's going to be like to work here. This is someone who could be my coworker. Like, okay, I'm in. let me apply. And then it's easy because you don't have the resume. So done. Love it. Awesome.
That's it.
Done. Okay, now everyone can go off and do that.
Yeah, exactly. Snap your fingers. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. This is great. I suspect that you're in San Francisco, and if so, go out there and get a Dungeness crab for me.
There we go. I'm actually on the East Coast in New York today, but
well, then don't. Then you two should get together for coffee. Awesome. Well, cheers, guys. Jeanette, see you again in 2 weeks.
See
Sam,
you in 2 weeks.
As always, a pleasure.
Breakfast in Nashville next week. I will be there. So have a great week until then, or 2 weeks. Thank you, Sam.
Let's go. All right.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.